Daylight came. I woke up in a daze and panicked. I finally came to the realization that I was still in Sam's place. Why hadn't they taken me? I thought. Shit, how long was I out? I need to get home. I rushed out of the house to the back door in case someone was outside waiting. Sam was always good at having secret ways around town. To be undiscovered. I whizzed through his backyard through a hole in the fence that leads to an alley that goes straight into the back side of the park. And entering the park, there is an eerie silence. No birds chirping. No kids playing. Just nothing. I kept in mind to stay off the main trail, as Sam would call it, the meat grinder. Maybe he knew one day they would come for him, too. Once I finally reached my home, I burst into my house in tears and frantic. Mom, where are you? I screamed.
Over here, sweetie. What's going on? Where's Oliver?
She asked. They took him, I said between sobs. I don't know who they are, but they took them. Mom rushed to get the house phone to call it in.
Okay, James. I have them on the line. Can you tell them what happened?
Hello?
This is dispatch, and at least tell me as much as you can about last night.
The voice over the phone said, My cousin and I were staying the night at our friend's house. I gave them the address. We were in the middle of building a fort to sleep in when these guys in hazmat suits took them and knocked me out. The voice asks,
Why didn't they take you?
I don't know. Maybe the neighbors were watching, I assumed.
You will see them soon.
The voice had said, this time in a more grisly tone.
They don't like leaving things behind.
And the line went dead.
Are they looking for them?
I think so, I told her. Mom had rushed back to the phone to call Oliver's parents to tell them the news, while I went up to my room. I've got to find them. Someone had to have seen something, I thought. I need to get over to Sam's neighbors to see if they saw anything. The doorbell rang. I peeked out of my door to see who it was and when my mom had answered. I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but there were two men in black suits at the door, claiming to be detectives about the missing persons case. Word apparently got around fast. I heard them ask for me, and my mother had directed them to the living room. Shit, how did they get here so fast? It's only been 5 minutes since we called it in.
James, there's two men down here to see you.
My mom called. 1 minute, Mom. I'm getting dressed. I panicked when I said that. I can't go down there. They can't be detectives. I stammered around for a few seconds till my mom called for me again.
James, what are you doing? Hurry up.
I was going to go for the window when all of a sudden the realization hit me. If they were with the men that took Sam and Oliver, what would they do to my mom if I were to leave? I headed downstairs, but not without my pocket knife Dad had given me. When I made it to the living room, both men stood up and introduced themselves as Detective Don and Detective Daniels. Don was a small man with a bit of what seems like a Napoleon complex. Daniels was an average height silent type.
James, I understand this is a difficult time, but any information you can give us on the people who took your friends will help greatly,
Detective Don said. I didn't get a good look at them. I was knocked out, I said. My mom looked at me, knowing I was uncomfortable with the situation.
Are you sure you saw nothing?
Daniels asked. I'm sure. I was knocked out, I stated.
I think we've taken enough of your time. We'll be in touch,
Don said. They had gotten up, handed my mom a business card, and walked out the front door.
James, why didn't you tell them about the uniforms?
Mom asked. Those guys aren't detectives, Mom. What kind of detective shows up looking like the men in black? I explained. Mom was not too enthused about the answer, but shook it off because today has been very stressful. I had gone back upstairs to sleep the rest of the day off. It was Sunday after all, and I had to go to school the next day. My dreams were just another episode of the kidnapping, but it was almost like I had missed something. The suits had an emblem on them. A tree with a lightning bolt. I jolted awake. It was the same design Sammy drew that night. I had a lead. My mother told me to hurry up or I'd be late for the bus. I rushed to get dressed, grabbed my backpack and ran downstairs for a piece of toast and headed to the bus stop, which is 3 blocks away, towards the park. I was about 50 feet out or so from the bus stop, down the street, and when I noticed a van creeping slowly behind me, I saw Detective Don in the driver's seat. I ran. I ran as fast as my legs could take me. I was a block away from the bus stop until another vehicle cut me off. It was Daniel's. I juked to the left and skirted down the alley he had just driven up. I need to lose these guys. I can't go back home. The park! I ran down the alley for 2 blocks, noticing both vehicles are behind me. I turned left and jumped the fence into the nearest yard and cut through. I can lose them in the park. On the other side of the property I just trespassed, I stopped, caught my breath, and planned my next move. I had a bit before they caught up to me. 3 more blocks until I reached the park. I heard a noise from behind me. Fuck, they're on foot now. I ran again, cutting across the street through the other yard. Daniels was behind me this time, right on my ass. I jump up the fence and he grabs my foot and yanks me back. I collapse on top of him. We both fell down onto the ground, and I reached for the stick that I fell next to and smacked that fucker in the face and got back up to run, and he pulled a gun on me. That's when the owner of the house came out waving his own rifle.
What the fuck are you doing to that kid?
They said. Daniels went for his badge, and I bolted for the fence. I made it over, and that bought me enough time to make it to the park. Once I made it to the park, I went straight for the creek that cuts through it. Sam and I used to play down there all the time as kids. I knew that area like the back of my hand. I went to the drainage tube that fed the creek and climbed in. I had enough room to crawl in there and hide. I went in far enough to where if they did look, they couldn't see me. Both men splashed around in the creek and came to the tube I was in and peeked in.
If you're in there, you better come out.
Don had said. Daniels pulled out his handgun and threatened.
Look, kid, if you come out here, I won't fire down the tube. I'll give you to the count of 3.
Immediately, Don started cussing and threatening him.
Knock that macho crap off. You want to blow our cover?
I couldn't go out there. I couldn't. I made my way deeper into the tube. After about 5 minutes of crawling, I came across a chamber half filled with water, roughly the size of an average living room. There was a drain above me that shed some light in the chamber. There was a grate next to it that looked like it was for servicing the chamber. There was no way I was going to be able to climb up to that grate. I'm gonna have to swim across to the other tube. I reached the other side and crawled in. I have no idea where I'm going at this point, but I need to get out of here. I'm crawling deeper and deeper, and I had made it to what seemed like a larger pipe that I can stand in. It's pitch black down here, not just your standard darkness. It was choking me with a smell of rotting, almost like a sewer. I reached out for a wall that I could follow to take baby steps, because the last thing I need right now is to break a leg and die down here. Then I noticed something. A faint red glow at the far end of the tunnel. It was like it was pulsating almost, like a heartbeat. I followed the wall until the glow allowed my vision to come to where I was headed, and I saw something both frightening but relaxing. Christmas lights. Fucking Christmas lights in the sewer. I couldn't believe it. As I got even closer, I had noticed several tents posted up. It seemed like a homeless camp of some kind. People actually lived in the sewer. I rushed over, hoping someone was there that could help me. I was cold and wet and needed to get help somewhere. Hello? I muttered. Nothing. I walked deeper into the chamber as cautiously as I possibly could. Last thing I need is some hobo to come at me. There was rustling in one of the tents. I stopped. Hello? I said this time with a more demanding tone. The rustling continued. I walked closer to the tent. Hey, could you help me? I approached the tent and opened the flap. A fucking raccoon popped out and ran down the chamber. Jesus, I screamed. As I collected my bearings, someone began walking towards me from the direction the raccoon ran to.
What the hell do you want?
The person called out. I need some help. There are 2 people after me and I don't know how to get out of here. The man began approaching me.
Well, shit. Looks like you're in a pickle, kid. You see, kid, I don't get many visitors down in these parts. Why the hell should I help you?
My friends have been taken. I need to find them. Do you know this symbol? I started frantically drawing the symbol on the dirty ground with a broken golf club I'd found laying on the ground.
Looks like Vandercorp to me.
The man said. Who are they? I asked.
I'll tell you what, kid. Give me some supper, and I'll tell you all about 'em. Here's a map to help you get out of here.
He handed me a crumpled up piece of paper with hand-drawn symbols.
Take the grate up off of Pine. That's the easiest way out of here. Come back in that way with some grub if you want more info.
I nodded and headed out that way. Once I reached the surface, I ran home as fast as possible, being on the lookout for those assholes. I have to check on Mom, I thought to myself. I didn't want her getting hurt. I ducked between cars and bushes as I waded my way through town back home. I burst into my house. Mom! Mom, you home? She peers around the corner from the kitchen. She looked horrified, like I shouldn't have come back. She called me into the kitchen. She has a bottle of vodka in her hand and a glass in the other, tears streaming down her face. Mom? What's going on?
They said they wouldn't come for us.
What do you mean, Mom?
You were supposed to be safe. I don't know.
She mumbled. She kind of stopped being coherent at that time. But I noticed she had food on the stove. So I dished up a to-go box and headed back out to the greasy hobo. He had answers somehow, and I wanted to find out. And as I slowly made my way back to the sewer drain, I noticed an eerie silence outside. No birds, or anything. Like a looming danger in the air. As I hit Pine Street, the grate was just a few feet away. That's when I noticed everyone on the street just staring at me, like deer in headlights. No anger in their vague expressions, just blank stares all around. I wormed my way into the grate and worked my way down. Hey, here's your food. Now talk.
Thank you, James.
The hobo devoured the food like he hasn't eaten in months. As he was munching down, he gestured for me to follow him. We were walking down a dank space just beyond his tent village, came across a lone shelter of some sort. All he did was point in that direction. I followed his finger to the entrance of what seemed like a dilapidated control room. The door opened with a harsh creak. Dim lights from the tent town gave me enough light to notice someone in there. They lifted their head.
James?